right, I think we are live. Hey guys, it is Monday, the first Monday of summer vacay, and I'm gonna check what the actual date is. Today is the June the 19th, so it's Monday, June 19th. I put a dojo message on saying that I was going to try to do a couple of tutorials a week to help prevent the summer backslide. And so this morning, I've already done this activity with my son, who is a rising first grader, just like your little guys. And he completed the two activities, the written activities, and he also did the shared reading, and we had a discussion. And so he's like my guinea pig to make sure this is going to work out. And then I'm going to do it with you guys. And so today I'm just going to go ahead and go into it. We are going to read the Little Red Hen today, and we're going to focus on 2 comprehension questions. And then I have a shared reading, which is a poem. It's going to talk a little bit about some decoding, which most everybody in the classroom has really strong decoding skills, but I want to keep those fresh and keep them, if you don't use it, you lose it. So keep those going. And if I do maybe 1 or 2 of these every week, and if your children are practicing these skills, hopefully we won't have that too big of a summer backslide, because the stakes are high in first grade. There's so many levels that they have to go through. I think if they ended on a level D, you have to move 7 levels. So they'd have to maintain that level D, and then end to be on grade level, end on a level J. Levels don't mean a whole lot. It's just you shouldn't define your child by a level. It's the behaviors that they're doing at these different levels. That's what we're looking for. And I kind of went over that on, I think, our 3rd family and teacher team meeting. So if you need to go back and look at that, that's also on my YouTube channel, so you can look at what the kids should be doing at these different levels. And also just make that announcement that I am going to first grade. Yay. I'm a little nervous because I am hardcore kindergarten teacher. That's what I've done for the past 6 years. I have taught first grade before. I went from a pre-K position into first grade, and that was like total culture shock. But I'm hoping, because I have a little bit more experience under my belt now, that I am going to be more effective in first grade, because I'm understanding what kids should be doing when they're reading to help them be able to comprehend what it is that they're reading. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to do a screen share. Do this. All right. So you should be looking at a Google slide, and it should say "Read Aloud, the Little Red Hen." So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start that. We have Epic is one of the programs that we use. It's a free program. So you can go online to epic.com and see if you can access the books. There's tons of books. There's books that they'll read to you, and there's books that you can do. There's also the little paper that we sent home. I think it's called My Own, and you use your child's lunch number to be able to log in. So that's another way that they can access books over the summer. And then I also have the Big Universe, the class still open, so you can access books that way as well and be able to pull them up by their particular level that they ended on here at the end of the school year. Or you can pick a specific genre if you want science books, or books about animals, or books that are fiction, or books about the beach. You can kind of be able to narrow down the different book choices that way. So this just gives you another way to access books, be able to access some text. I really enjoy having an actual book. Um, there's just something about turning those pages and interacting with the book that, you just can't get that feeling from the computer. So I'm going to read The Little Red Hen. We'll make it a little bigger because I can't see that well. All right, so a little red hen lived in a house with a frisky dog, a cat, and a mouse. One day, while she was pecking for worms in the weeds, she came upon a pile of golden wheat seeds. She said with delight, "Dog, cat, mouse, if you'd like some cake to eat, who will help me plant this wheat?" Because the kids are pretty familiar with the story, they already know what's going to happen. But go ahead, make a prediction. Who is going to help Little Red Hen plant this wheat? The dog said, "Not I." The cat said, "Not I." Did you guys predict that? The mouse said, "Not I." My, said the hen with a sigh. "I shall have to do it myself." And there she is. See her wheat seeds on her back. Really draw attention to what's going on in the pictures. You can see that the hen has all those seeds on her back. She's getting ready to go plant those seeds. So the little red hen planted the seeds. She watered them well. She pulled the weeds. She tended the plants all alone. When the stalks had fully grown, she said with a shout, "Dog, cat, mouse, if you'd like some cake to eat, who will help me cut this wheat?" Make those predictions again. Who's going to step up and help the little red hen? I see her little friends there. They're near where the wheat has grown. They surely are going to help this time, right? Oh, the dog said, "Not I." The cat said, "Not I." The mouse said, "Not I." My, said the hen with a sigh. "I shall have to do it myself." Look at those friends. They're right there in the wheat, but they're not helping. Oh, I wonder why they're not helping. What kind of character traits do the dog, the cat, and the mouse have? What could you say about these characters? Are they hardworking characters? Do they always do their best to help out a friend? Or would you say these characters are a little bit lazy, a little bit selfish because they see their friends in need, but they're not wanting to help her out at all? So the little red hen cut and cut until she had enough wheat to grind at the mill. When she said with some doubt, and that means that she's not expecting anybody to help her, but she's hoping, "Dog, cat, mouse, if you'd like some cake to eat, who will help me grind this wheat?" Oh, I believe that one of her friends is going to come through for her. She's totally going to have somebody help her, right? And she's given a little bit of foreshadowing here. That means she's kind of telling them really what's going to happen if you would like some cake to eat. So if you want to eat cake, I need you to help me do this now. But her friends really aren't listening to her. They aren't being very good listeners and being a very good friend to her. All they know is that cake is coming and they don't want to do anything to get it. The dog said, "Not I." The cat said, "Not I." The mouse said, "Not I." Oh man, I just knew somebody was finally going to help her. Not now. My, said the hen with a sigh. "I shall have to do it myself." Look at all that wheat that she's having to drag. Man, it should be an easy job if she just had some friends to help her. But because she's doing it all on her own, it's a big, hard job. The little red hen ground the wheat to flour. Then it was baking hour. She mixed up the butter and measured so well. Soon the house was filled with the sweet cake smell. There she is, working so hard, using that flour that she grew herself from wheat. The dog, the cat, and the mouse followed the scent into the house. Take a look at our illustration. You see that little line? It almost looks like smoke. That's how the illustrator is showing that there is a smell. You know, when mom cooks her cakes or bakes something that is your favorite, that smell hits your nose and makes your mouth water and makes your tummy grumble. You come running because you know what that smell means. Well, that's what these characters have done. The dog, the cat, and the mouse. They smell that wonderful, sweet, gooey yumminess, and they've come running. They know that cake is done. They hungrily admired the handsome treat. How delicious, they shouted. When do we eat? I'm going to make a prediction here. They haven't been very helpful all through this book. She asked for help from her friends, and she also said, if you want to eat, who will help me do something with this wheat? But they never listened to that part. All they wanted was the cake. So I don't think she's going to help them. What do you think? Do you think she's going to give them the cake that they want? Alone, the hen replied. I planted, I weeded, I cut, I ground. A little pile of golden wheat seeds I found. Alone, I used the flour to bake. Now, who will help me eat this cake? Mm. Oh, the dog said, I'll help. The cat said, oops, sorry, I'll help. The mouse said, I'll help. Look, even the mouse has got the cake cutter. But look at that little red hen's face. I don't think she's convinced that they really deserve the cake. Look how the illustrator has used the reflection in the cake cutter again. On this page, we could see the little red hen. She didn't look really happy. Now the illustrator has used the cake cutter to show the faces of the friends. Do they look really happy? They kind of look shocked, surprised. They can't believe what the little red hen is getting ready to tell them. My, the hen said with a sigh. I will share my cake with those of you who help when there is work to do. For after all is said and done, working together makes working fun. These two friends right here, there they are right here, but the reflection is here. Just realized that she's only going to share with the people that did some work. I don't think that's them. And they just realized they didn't help, so they're not getting cake. Now, when Little Red Hen wants to bake, everyone helps to make the cake. So these guys learned a lesson. She didn't share that first cake she made with them because she asked for help, and they didn't. They ignored her. They didn't help her. And then in the end, they didn't get any cake. Now they realize that if they don't do any work, they're not going to get the reward. And now they help every time she asks. and everyone helps to eat it. So now everyone can enjoy the cake because everyone did their part. And so there's a quiz here. Oh, no, there's not. You can create one. So I don't want to create one because I've given you a couple of comprehension questions. So now I'm going to go here. I'm going to put this in present mode. And this is what's typical of what your child sees on the reading assessment. There will be a question at the top, and sometimes there'll be a graphic organizer for them to fill in, and sometimes there'll just be an area for them to write. What I noticed is when there was a graphic organizer in place, they may not have used it appropriately, so they really need to pay attention to what the different sections are asking them. So the question is here, what are the two settings in the story and what happened in those settings? So we have this graphic organizer where on this side, in these two cells here, they're gonna tell what the two settings are. So it could be they need a reminder of what setting is. So right now, if you're sitting there with your child or if your child is sitting there with you, I want the student to tell you what setting is. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds. So tell mom or dad what setting is. So hopefully your child just told you that setting is where the story takes place, where these events are happening in the story. It's a where question. So they first have to decide what are the two settings. There are two distinct settings in this story. And then in these two cells, they're going to tell me what happened in these two areas. Okay? So if you want to stop the video or pause it right now and allow your child, if you want to draw just on a piece of paper, it's what I did with my child, just like this, two cells for the setting, the two different settings in the story, and then two cells for what happened in those two settings. If you want to pause it, and then when you come back on, I'll show you what Jackson did. Jackson would have gotten an exemplar because he had lots of details in his story. Right? So I wanted to show you, this is what I did for Jackson, and it may be backwards, and I'm sorry if it is. So here were the two columns for the settings, and then here were the details of what happened in each one of those settings. And you can see it's more than just one sentence. Details, explaining as much as they can, shows that they truly understand what's happening in the story. So let me just read to you what he did. And this was him completely by himself. So the first setting he said was outside in the garden. He used his book. He looked through the pictures and he decided, even though it never explicitly stated, hey, the little red hen is outside in the garden, he used those picture clues to determine where she was. And then he said that this is what happened outside in the garden. The little red hen found wheat seeds and decided to plant them and water them and pulled out the weeds and cut the wheat. And that's what she did in the garden. Now, you notice he didn't talk about any of the baking. This is what specifically happened in this particular setting. The second setting, he said, was the little red hen's house in her kitchen. And this is what he said happened in the little red hen's kitchen. The little red hen came in with her flour and decided to make a cake. So she made the batter and used the flour and eggs and put it on a tray and put it in the oven and made a cake. The little red hen told her friends, those who work will get the prize. And so that's just in his mind. The cake was the prize or the reward. So that's what he said happened in that particular setting. Lots of detail, showing that he truly understood what was happening in the story and what was happening in these particular settings. There's a question that will pop up a lot, being able to determine, do you know what setting is? And tell me what happened in that setting. I'm gonna screen share again. Here's the second question. Explain why Little Red Hen did not share the cake in the story. Now, this will be that wrap that we did where you have to restate the question. With the graphic organizers, I don't make them restate the question because the graphic organizer is just a way for them to organize their ideas and thoughts. This is an actual question, so I want them to restate the question. Restating that helps them stay on track and makes them stay focused on truly answering that question. So that's the R in wrap, if you remember. Then the A is answer the question. So making sure that they're not talking about something completely off topic, that they are truly focusing on why the little red hen did not share the cake in the story. And then the P is to prove that you are right. The way to do that is to find it in the text. Turn to that part in the book. They will have access to this book. They can turn to the pages. They can use the book as a resource. That is so key. It's a way for them to kind of self-check and say, hey, I think it's this, but let me check the book to make sure. So let's highlight the words that you're going to use in the question. Let's see if I can get this. See if I can do it. So, Little Red Hen did not share the cake in the story. So Little Red Hen did not share the cake in the story. And then they would go on with because. So there's the part that they're restating. So now I want to go to the book. And I'm just going to turn to the pages to find where she was saying she's not going to share the cake. Okay. So here's where all the people showed up, the characters showed up wanting cake. So I know that the answer is going to be somewhere around here. And if I have to, I'm going to go back and I'm going to reread that part of the text. Rereading is key because you don't want to just start talking about it. You want to make sure that you are truly answering the question. We want to know why Little Red Hen did not share the cake with her friends. So I would reread. The dog and the cat and the mouse followed the scent into the house. They hungrily admired the handsome treat. How delicious, they shouted. When do we eat? So on these two pages, it doesn't tell me why she didn't share. So I'm going to turn because the answer is not here. I planted, I weeded, I cut, I ground the little pile of golden wheat seeds I found. Alone I used the flour to bake. Now who will help me eat this cake? So I'm thinking this might have something to do with the answer. That she did this all alone. She planted alone. She weeded alone. She cut alone. She ground alone. But I want to just keep going just to make sure. So she asked who would help, and the dog said, I'll help. The mouse said, I'll help. The cat said, I'll help. This is the part where she breaks the news to him. My, said the hen with a sigh. I will share my cake with those of you who help when there is work to do. For after all is said and done, working together makes working fun. Oh, I think the answer is right here, that she will share her cake with those who help when there is work to do. So she did all the work she planted, she weeded, she cut, she ground. They didn't do the work. So there's your answer. She did all the work, and if you want to go into complete detail about all the work that she did, she planted, weeded, cut, and ground. She did it all alone, and her friends did not help. And she's only going to share with those who help. So that's how you find the answer in the text. And then, so I want to show you and I think I did that all without a screenshot. I'm sorry. So show you what Jackson did, and I just wrote the answer up there, or wrote the question up there at the top. And it says the same thing. Explain why Little Red Hen did not share the cake in the story. And so we underline Little Red Hen did not share the cake because he said because she planted and weeded and cut and ground the wheat, and only she will get the cake. So that would be a level 2, because he told what she did, but the reasoning behind it was she said she would give cake to those who did the work. And so he left out that important detail. So that would have been something that he needed to add to his answer. Those simple little things like that is what we see them leaving out and can pop them back down. So we want them to take their time, do their best, look over their work to make sure that it is truly answering the question and that they've given enough details to support that their answer is correct. I'm going to do another screen share. So we wrote a little poem, and this is just a little poem that kind of focuses on the same premise as the Little Red Hen. So what we do with poems, it's called a shared reading, and this is a chance for them to work on decoding skills, working on words that they know, those sight words that we've been working so hard on, words that fit a particular spelling pattern, so that word work, those words that we sent home that Ms. Patterson had worked on with the kids, starting to see that, hey, that looks like that word that we worked on, and so it works like that word, so I can read that word. So first what we do is we go through and look for words that we know. So I'm going to give a second just to pause the video and then have your child point and read words that they can read just like that. All right, so hopefully now you're back, and they should see words like there and was and a, he and did not, and a, or his, were has been a sight word we've worked on, but and all, and was, sit, because that fits a spelling pattern, and day is a word that we have worked on, they is a word that we've worked on, just is a word that we've worked on. That works like all the at words we've worked on. How and could. Wait has been a word that, if you made it to the third word list, was a word that you worked on for it. Let's see, hot, because we worked on odd words, and from. We've worked on unwords, so sun, when, the, let's see, his, took, because you know, look, you can read took, eat words, so it's got that little word eat in it, so eat, seat. There's that EA, like eat, so they would have to break that word apart, and we'll do that in a minute when we go back through. And this E, we'll work on that too when we get back to it. All right, so let's read through it. And this is just a quick little poem, and I tried to make something that tied in with the story, having that same premise, keeping their mind focusing on the concept of the story. So I'm going to point with this cursor. Hopefully you can see it. There once was a boy named Joe. He did not lift a finger or toe. His friends were making ice, and then it's covered. So when they're reading, they may come up with words or come across words that they can't figure out. What we want them to do is constantly think about what's happening in the story. What would make sense here? So his friends were making ice. What is something that you can make? Ice tea, ice water, ice cream, maybe? So you're making a guess here, and I'll have to go back to the non-present mode, but to reveal what it is. So let's do this. Exit. And so deciding on what you think that word would be. Iced tea, ice cream. Let's move it out of the way. I'll present. His friends were making ice cream. Okay. Let's go back and keep going. But all he did was sit and day. So I know poems typically rhyme. That's something that usually happens. So Joe and toe rhyme. So it has to be a word that rhymes with cream. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to read, and then I'm going to make a guess about what might make sense here. His friends were making ice cream, but all he did was sit and day, day and then ing. Day sing, day mean, day dream. They have to know what that word might be. So they have to use some knowledge about what is happening in the text, what that word daydream might mean. So just like the characters in the Little Red Hen, they didn't want to help. They were playing. They were just goofing off. In this story, Joe was daydreaming. He wasn't really doing a whole lot of anything other than just daydreaming and sitting and chilling. His friends brought, now I have this word highlighted. This is a big word, and kids might shut down. But our kids know that the most efficient way to decode a word is to break it into chunks that they know go together. If you were not taught how to chunk, this is how the children may attack this word, and this is the most inefficient way. They would say each letter sound. Look how many letters is in that word. By the time they got to the E here after the R, they are going to forget what was there at the beginning anyway. You can't break this word apart by saying every individual sound. So you need to break it into chunks that you see. And so we call that being a word detective. We've taught the kids, find little chunks. Do you see little chunks of sound? Do you see little sight words inside of this bigger word? So the first thing they should really see is N. N is there. That should be the first chunk that they see. They know that GR goes together to make their and they may even take it and do the ED with it. So in grid, they may say in grid. Don't correct them, because at the end, when they chunk it all together, they're going to have to make it make sense. So in grid, and then they know the I says I. And they may have remembered that the ENT works like that word went. So it's ent. So ENT says ent. So far we have in, gred, ent. Ingredients. Ingredients. And then they should start thinking, well, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't sound like a word that I know. Then they start saying, oh, there's some letters that make more than one sound. Ingredient. Maybe they go to this E right here and say, I'm going to make this E say E. Ingredients. Ingredients. That sounds like a word I know. They have to work through that. They have to think about what's happening in the story, what word would make sense, and use background knowledge. That's why we do a lot of vocabulary. I don't try to make the words just really simplistic. I use higher order thinking vocabulary with these kids, because when they come to these words in text, it's not going to be that lower level. It's going to be those higher level words. So they're going to need to have that in their toolkit when they go to try and decode and understand. So we figured out ingredients. So I want to go back and I want to read and check and see if ingredients works. His friends brought ingredients they needed, and Joe just sat there and tweeted. So that works like needed because the two E's. And then they should, even as kindergartners, because it really shocks and amazes me that they know about Facebook and Twitter. So he's tweeting. Oh, how he could not wait for it to be done. He was hot from lying in the sun. When the ice cream was complete, his friends all took a seat. The friends squealed from sweet delight. Now, for some reason, it didn't show up there. It got cut off on the end. But Joe was not offered a bite. So we would talk about what happened in this poem. What's going on with Joe? What were his friends doing in this poem? What was Joe doing in this poem? What happened at the end with Joe? Why did his friends not offer him ice cream at the end? Does this poem make you think about the Little Red Hen story? Why? Then we would talk something about character traits. Character traits are how the character behaves, what he does within that story that makes us think a certain way about that character. If you came to school every day, did your work, was always neat, always on time, always put things where they were supposed to go, you would be seen as a hard worker. You would be seen as responsible. You would be seen as a learner. So how is what Joe has done in this poem, how does that make you see him? What is his character trait? How is he portrayed in this poem? When I talked to Jackson about this, he said that Joe was very selfish, that he knew that his friends were making ice cream, but he was just laying around waiting for them to do all the work and was expecting to get ice cream at the end. But his friend surprised him and said, no, we're going to eat some ice cream and you're not going to get a bite. So he said his character trait is selfish. What kind of character trait do you see? Do you think he's selfish or do you think he is something else? You could say that Joe is lazy. He's just laying around in the sun. He's got his tablet or his phone and he's on Twitter tweeting away, probably about, oh, can't wait for ice cream to be done. So he could be seen as lazy. You think of any other character traits that would describe Joe? So just getting friends to think along those lines. Let's see here. Stop sharing. Go back. So that's just a quick little view into what the read aloud looks like and a shared reading looks like, and how you can have your child answer some of these questions. The writing component is typically what sends them back, and they have the skills, they have the chops to do it. A lot of the kids in this group, they read those higher books. We had a lot of kids that were reading G's, and maybe backed up to an F because they got one of the two questions, and maybe the second question they left out an important detail, or they didn't use the book to prove that they were right. They just found the page they thought was the answer and they just wrote something random. So we're really going to focus on finding the answer in the text and proving they're right. Does what I found in the book really answer that question that's being posed to me? I would say work on writing. Just you can do opinion. I like this because, or my favorite is this because. Working on giving 2 to 3 reasons why. Writing opinions, writing informational. So if you guys go on a trip and you learn about something, like if you go to the beach and you end up going to the aquarium and all the different things that you can learn about at the aquarium, which is amazing. Maybe you go in the jellyfish room and you learn some different facts about jellyfish, have them come back and write an informational text about jellyfish. We went to the aquarium and learned about jellyfish. And then list 3 or 4 facts about the things that they learned about jellyfish. And then maybe after you take the entire beach trip, have them write a narrative story about what happened at the beginning of your beach trip, what happened in the middle, what happened in the end. Use transitional words like first, next, then, last. Don't just put one sentence for those transitional words. So you could have like 2 or 3 sentences about what happened first. First, we got in the car, Dad packed it up, we drove a really long time to get to Myrtle Beach. When we got there, you could say we unpacked the car and had to go up an elevator to get to the room. Next, we put on our bathing suits and ran out to the beach. I swam in the ocean. I saw a shark. Just given more than one sentence for each one of those transitional words. Given lots of detail to help make that story, because I'm not there with you at the beach and I really am curious about what's happening in your story. So give me details that support that. And that would be just write a story a week. You don't have to make it like school, but have them write. Since you have their portfolios, it has all those words that that they have supposedly mastered. They're responsible for spelling those words correctly. If it doesn't have a check beside of it, that means that they haven't learned those words yet. So I told the kids that, they could do those same activities we've done in the classroom with, 3 or 4 of those words each week. And if they have all those words mastered by the time they go into 1st grade, it's going to be amazing what they can do with their reading, because they're not going to have to, work so hard at decoding all those words. They're going to be able to recognize those sight words and read them just like that. So work on those sight words, and then you can use that as a tool when you read back over your child's writing. You can go, hey, it says here that you know that word went, and you spelled went with W-I-N-T. That might be a word that we need to go back and review. So that's just typically what I would do in the classroom. I'd look and see, hey, that's one of those words that's yours. So I would throw that word back in there. Words that they needed to work on for that particular week, so they would have it mastered, and I would expect them to be able to read it and spell it and write it correctly every time. And then as far as math, keep keep the adding and subtracting going, being able to determine in a word problem what you're supposed to do. Are you supposed to add? You're supposed to subtract. When we start back to school, we're going to kind of pick up where we left off. So there'll be some addition and subtraction going on. We'll start kind of gradually, and then based on what they can do and what they remember, then I will go ahead and start building and increasing the intensity or the complexity of these math problems. So just do some word problems. Do it within 10. You know, don't stress them out with 20s. But just tell them a word problem and see if they can illustrate it and write a number sentence and maybe show a different way. We've used number lines, we've used tally marks, we used tens frames. So you're going to show you 3 different ways that they can solve this problem. I hope this is helpful. Please message me on Dojo. If it's not, hopefully I won't be so wordy and I won't have to talk as much. If your child was like a level D or maybe a C, I think I had one C in the group. You know, maybe not so much writing. See if they can orally tell you the answers to these written comprehension questions, and let just the different types of writing that they'll be working on, let that be the written component, because those level C's and D's, they're just not quite ready to do that written comprehension question. So I don't want to get them frustrated and shutting down on you. So just ask these questions and get them to tell you orally. Now, if your child was a level E or above, yes, I suggest that they answer these written comprehension questions and they do it independently, and it be something that you guys can discuss and go back in the text to find out maybe why they were right or why they were wrong and get them to give you details. Okay, so thanks so much. I'm going to go work on some first grade stuff, so I'll be ready for you guys in the fall. Thanks.